I'm Avril from EI Platform, and I'm going to take you on a startup story journey today, and the journey is going to cover what it's like to be an entrepreneur for me personally, how it all started, where are we now, and where to next. So, what it's like being an entrepreneur. Are there any parents here in the room this morning? Yes? And so for all the non-parents, they go, great, I talk about how cool parents are. So anyone who's not a parent in the room? Yep, you're a kid? Cool. So for the parents, because you're probably a bit old now and can't remember back to when you were a kid, think for when your kids were small. And for the kids in the room, think back to it when you were a kid. And your days and years consist of lots of ups and downs and highs and lows, and you're riding the wave of all these emotions, day in, day out. And that's on a scale of like 10 years. You think about core memories and you're like, that was really cool, that was really shitty. So for an entrepreneur, we go through all of these emotions in our morning, in the first 3 hours of the day. So that's what it's like. And then you multiply that. Oh, that comes later, sorry. So there are lots of ups and downs and twists and turns and unexpected cards thrown your way in very short, fast periods of time. It's quite challenging. You don't get to pass go, you don't get to collect the $200 you literally need to pay your bills. And yeah, instead of going to jail, fingers crossed, none of us go to jail, go to the nearest whiteboard and throw everything out and start again. So that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I'm really selling it. How it all started for me, why do we do it? What's the backstory? So I started out my career as an intrapreneur. Does anybody know or have heard that term before? Yeah? So I worked in businesses in different industries, and it essentially means getting paid to learn. So I was a salary employee managing different business units, products, launching campaigns in tech, in events, in advertising. You basically name it, I've probably done an industry. And so then I got old, married, and had kids and did all of that. And with that comes a whole new subset of challenges. And you experienced it firsthand this morning for me. After my second baby, I went back to my permanent part-time job in business consulting. And it was a really funny, strange time because it was like the pinnacle of what I had always strived to achieve was being a business consultant, working on government projects, strategic business planning, strategic communications plans for government, private enterprise, but really big, chunky pieces of work. And I remember doing this particular one for a government organisation, and we got to the end of it, and it was like 280 pages long, and we had it like graphically designed, printed and bound, and like getting that from the printer was like, oh God, now what? Who's going to read 280 something pages of it's never going to go anywhere, or it's going to be 10 years in the making. And it just felt like I wasn't contributing to something that was for the bigger cause or betterment of, myself and the world around me at large. So I decided to quit. That world wasn't for me. And the reason why I decided to quit was because I felt like my husband and I, 2 small kids, we'd done everything right in the societal norms, like you get qualified, you work really hard, you gain skills, you meet someone, you get married, you have kids, and then you're like, well, we're sacrificing so much and we're working so hard for what? Like for a 200-page document that's just going to go into a government cabinet and not see the light of day. So people would say things like, you're really great at understanding complex ideas and concepts, explaining and teaching those concepts in easy to understand layman's terms, and creating and working with budgets for projects, always coming in on time, within budget, and managing people and projects. And so I was like, what do I do with that? How can I use that to build something, to create something of value, to, participate in our world and make things better? And I wrote a white paper which was creating a better workforce for the future, and that was something that I was really interested in at this particular time. And so I was like, how do we make the world at large, which is a ridiculously large aspiration, a better place? But I think that is the gift of entrepreneurship, is the mission of trying to do things better and in a better way to help more people, essentially. So what made me actually take the next step? It was a mentor, actually, a personal, informal mentor. And I remember this conversation so vividly. I was driving, so I was on the phone safely with Apple CarPlay, with a baby in the back, just clarifying. Baby napping, trying to be like, yeah, I'm trying to do all this stuff. And he was like, well, could you look back on your life and have no regrets that you didn't take that leap of faith? And I know people talk about that sort of stuff all the time, but it really hit me in the face like a punch of well, could I? I've just had 2 babies, so 2 12-month stints of maternity leave of no income. Coming back, it was 4 or 5 months into my returning to work. So I was thinking, well, we've actually lived on 1 income before and twice. And so what if I extended that out for 6 months? I'll give myself actually I was still working permanent part-time, so I thought I'll just test the waters with some freelance stuff and see how that goes. But I'll keep my job, I don't expect to get any work immediately. And I signed up with this agency in Sydney, and all of a sudden I was they're like, oh, there's a company that want you to come in for 1 day tomorrow. Okay, cool. That's my work day, so I'll have to call in sick to go to this new thing. So I went there, and they're like, oh, can you come back again tomorrow? I'm like, okay, don't have childcare for tomorrow, so can we swap, and can I go back again? And then, can you come back on Monday? And then that literal couple of days turned into 6 months full-time being booked. So I was working 3 days of my permanent part-time job. I was working 5 days full-time at a advertising production company. So I was working 8 days in 5, and I only had childcare for 3 of those days. So it was just absolute chaos. But testing the water and having that mentor say to me, what have you got to lose? And that's what I was afraid of. I was like, well, generating an income, being able to have any form of lifestyle, and also PTSD from 2-minute noodles in my early 20s. Being there for the businesses, managing deliverables with 2 small kids and a shift working husband, but then also being there for my family for 2 small kids. That's not something that you can just put in a filing cabinet and say, I'll see you at 5. So yeah, it was, and then creating this new baby in a business. And for those of you, when you create a company through ASIC, you're literally creating a person on paper for tax purposes. So you are having another child in a way. So then my day turned into this. It was from probably 6 a.m. to sometimes 2 a.m. Trying to work and deliver and manage everybody's expectations and deliverables. And so back to this, how there's nothing certain in life, so it's not going to work. How do you know it's going to work? How do you take that jump and with the uncertainty of the sleepless nights of, are we going to be able to pay our bills and feed our children? And then in this conversation with my mentor, I was like, do you know what? Stuff it. I have literally nothing to lose. Nothing. So what? If it doesn't work, I'll just go get my job back. Easy. Or go get another job. Now is the time, because we're used to having no income or limited resources. So, hell for leather, and let's do this. And then fast forward, a couple of conversations, I2N last year. So my co-founder Jonathan saw a post on LinkedIn for the I2N pre-accelerator, and he called me and said, do you want to do this thing? I've got this idea. I'd love you to be a part of it. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool, sweet, let's go. So we got accepted, and his business idea we took to like scratching on paper, you know, the little business canvas. This is our model, this is our ideal customer, this is how we're going to do it. Like, you know, just real startup rudimentary stuff. And then we were lucky enough to be accepted into the accelerator program. And so that enabled us to solidify our founding team, and we hit the ground running with the program, which was amazing. And so at the start, we had our concept, we had our crappy taily bits of paper, and in those 90 days, we grew the company from 0 to over 800% with 9 customers across 18 sites. And a pipeline of future customers for new building construction with our EI platform product. And so that was like a whirlwind, and being a part of the cohort and turning up every day with these amazing people in the room with these amazing business ideas, and really like forced and pushed us to be better and to get the runs on the board and to keep up with the progress and things like that. So yeah, we built our prototype device, installed that, we got on the speaking circuit and got onto events, just like smashed anywhere we could who would take us. So that's how it all started. Where are we now? So EI platform, for those of you who don't know, is a energy monitoring and demand management device to help businesses and strata managed unit buildings use their energy more efficiently and their resources more efficiently, and to ultimately save on their OPEX expenditure of energy. So we built our prototype hardware device, we created our MVP dashboard, and we had some customers, we're off and running. And here's our sexy feature sort of set. But where we really are now today is we're in the lonely hours. And so has anyone heard of the lonely hours concept? So it's very fitting because the Olympics are on as we speak. And the lonely hours are athletes and high performing people mostly the most successful people, put their time and effort in when no one sees it. And then they go onto a world stage and they win, and our brains aren't really good at mapping what happened between here and here, and we just go, wow, you had that success overnight, and that's not how it happened. And so we're in our lonely hours where we had great momentum and success in the I2N program, and now we did a project earlier this year for 6 months for the City of Sydney, which was really, again, being paid to learn more about our problem, which was really, really good. So that was all about how strata managed unit buildings in the City of Sydney are going to manage the electrification process with EV cars and the implementation and adoption of that. So yeah, we're in the lonely hours of, we've really distilled down our ideal customer, which is that strata manager and owners corporation of unit buildings, because they're the most acute need for residents coming and saying, we want to install an EV, but if you do that times 50 apartments, it's just not going to work. So yeah, we've honed in on our niche, and we're in the process of building out our sales material and marketing material and a sales pipeline to add 100 new customers in this financial year. Some of our early adopters: University of Newcastle, City of Sydney, Trinity Marina, Maitland City Council, and as I said, several residential strata managed unit buildings from Sydney to Newcastle range. So where to next? As I said, our core focus is we help strata managers and owners corporations to implement EV infrastructure and strategy around equitable access for their residents to the EV infrastructure without the complexity of them having to learn and filter through the crazy amount of content that is available for them to have to pull through. Plus we're there after implementation, so our device goes in and we stay with them on their power journey, so consistently monitoring and demand managing their electrical usage, and if any problems come up, we have a team of electrical engineers sitting behind that who can step in at a moment's notice. So yeah, if you or someone in your network is in strata or owners corporation and talking about installing EV and the complexities around that, then yeah, let's connect. I flew through it, I left out some stories, but...
Okay, we actually have about 10 minutes, so if there's
awesome.
anyone in the crowd who has a question, I think now would be a really great time. Must mean you did a really good job telling the story.
You go.
Hi Avril, I'm Grayson.
Hi Grayson, I remember you from the I2N events.
Good on you.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just going to ask about back in the early days on sort of, you had the idea, probably had a little bit more than that with the, you know, my concept, but that first conversation, the first customer, because from where I sit, which is within government, trying to actually help these people take their ideas somewhere, that seems to be one of the biggest obstacles, moving it from an idea and actually engaging with a customer and testing that. How can you just elaborate a little bit on how you had that conversation and whether they were 1 or 10 or thousands before you got one?
There were definitely a good few. John is an electrical engineer and has a consulting business here in Newcastle. So I suppose we had a PhD in the problem to begin with, so it's multiple conversations over years of him working in that business. In terms of then taking our concept, pre-accelerator and accelerator, to the market, thankfully we had those contacts, but actually what happened was it was a market need. So the market was coming to us. Strata managers were saying, we have people who need to sort this problem out, can you help? And it was like, okay, yeah, we absolutely can. You know, dicky together the prototype, get something in there, deliver them some early value. And so I suppose in that respect, we were quite fortunate in that we're responding to the market versus bringing a new product to market and starting from scratch. But having done that before, I think the best thing that you can do is you just, need to, everybody says it, but talk to as many people as possible. And I think a mantra that I've taken from another mentor is volume negates luck. So I think you need to have 500 conversations. Like if you know, it's like the preparation, cutting the tree, that analogy, like how long do you sharpen the sword versus when you cut the tree? So yeah, I think the more preparation, the more homework, the more you can do. And like it's hard. You say, okay, I'm gonna have 500 conversations, that's daunting. So it's just confronting the work, I think.
Good, thanks.
Did I answer that one?
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm going to remember that quote though. Was it volume negates?
Volume negates luck. It's in the back of my phone. You need the reminder every day. Yeah.
I was going to ask about what's some of your lonely hours activities?
Yeah.
Because that's a really good phrase. That sort of rings true for us too right now.
And like, yeah, it's like the time where you're working 10, 12 hours a day, you don't know if it's going to work, you're not seeing any revenue yet, like of scale. The lonely hours work, a lot of it's soul searching. And then...
But why am I doing this kind of thing?
I mean, I'm pretty clear on the why. Like my parents are immigrant Irish farmers, so I kind of grew up with sustainable practices built into like our household. So we always had compost, and like, you know, my dad was like, no air conditioning, add a jacket. So, you know, it was in us, and so I think that's like the why, is I believe in using resources to the highest and best use possible, and anything else is wastage, and it's unnecessary. But it's confronting the work again. It's like, I think we all know what we have to do, but then it's not only confronting the work, the soul searching part is confronting the fact that I'm not good enough yet in that. So it's like, and I think that's a really helpful phrase, I'm not good enough yet, or I don't have the skills yet, because like otherwise you just end up being chasing shiny object syndrome, or the woman in the red dress, like
Alex Hormozy.
yes, you just end up, when it gets hard and you don't have the skills to go the next level, you want to go, oh well, I could do that and I can make this amount of money, that's heaps better, you know, and you just switch, or you just change your project, or, you know. So I think it's really just trying to keep focused and trying to remind yourself of, so at the moment I'm building out a brand new sales pack, scripts and marketing material for strata managers, and I've painstakingly, I know there's AI and things like that to do this for you, but built a contact list of strata managers to start cold calling, so that's not fun.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
And then when you recognise that you don't have the skills, you know where you want to go, but you're not sure how to get there, what are you leveraging? How are you helping yourself get there and stay on track? I mentioned mentors a couple of times. So it is just like there's peer-to-peer mentors, there's professional mentors. I think it's like getting around a group of people and staying in touch with people on a similar journey to you, and I guess people who are going to force you to be better in a way too. And then from a skill set perspective, I think it's like breaking it down into like the most simple form of what has to happen. So for example, I'm going to start cold calling. So, well, I need a script because I don't want to call people and not know what I'm going to say. So I've got to go write that now. And so then it's just a matter of like tackling the task and just getting the first one out there and doing the 100 first I think a lot of the entrepreneurial journey is managing your mindset and your headspace. And so I heard Hormozy, or my other mentor, said 20 hours is all you need to be like good enough at a skill, which is only half a week. So it's like, well, if I just dedicate 20 hours, then I'm going to be, proficient enough to start to then build on that. But it's experimenting. And then it's like soul searching to be like, come on, have a coffee and just make the call. Don't have the coffee, just make the call.
I'm a tea gal, so I need the cathartic, put the kettle on, make the hot brew. Okay, let's go.
I had a question. So if anyone's unaware, we're about to run a Net Zero Grand Challenge, and so I know that there's a lot of people who are really interested in this particular startup stories based on the space that you're obviously innovating in. And so this video people will watch to try and get some tips and ideas on how they should be innovating in the space. And so I guess my question for you is, do you have any advice for people who are very, very new to the journey of innovating at all, or to trying to build any kind of company? But specifically in this space, if you could give yourself some advice back when you first started, what would that be for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's really good. I think it is getting the PhD in the problem, and I think it's like the subtleties of the information you get. So our first customers were coming to us with this problem, and then through our accelerator journey, we were like, okay, we're building this thing for like businesses and la 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 and la la la, and then we were like, had a sort of realization a week ago that we missed that it was actually the market and the strata managers who are the core first customer. And so I think
it's having like reflective time to be like, okay, I'm going to do 100 reach outs and I'm going to like make my notes, but then just making the reflection piece of what did that tell us, like who was that person, and then of the people that you have, who are the ones that, you know, pay easily and are low maintenance and, you know, you can deliver great amount of value for, because we did have a customer who we shouldn't have taken, but we did, because we were like, yes, I need your money. And we want to solve your problem. Let me just caveat that. But they were just the wrong fit in terms of makeup of people to liaise with, and no clear like project lead, and a bit of a like power struggle internally as well, like that then we ended up having to experience as part of our project. So it's really I think it's just hard. You just have to start, like, you know, you just have to be brave and take the jump, and and then just don't quit, because I've thought about quitting.
Yeah. So what about for people who have nothing to do with like the clean energy space or the net zero space at all, but want to be innovating, and so that they're entering this space to enter this particular challenge? What advice would you give them, and where to find the best knowledge, or where you learnt about, I guess, the information that you needed about the problem in order to be solving it with the EI platform?
I think you need to be interested and passionate. Like, these things come up and they sound great and you can like opt in and participate, but unless you have like the passion and the drive, or the why of why you're entering the space, like, or interest, you've just got to have interest in the space, because then you're naturally dig into the information, and you know, you go down the rabbit hole essentially, which is what you have to do. So, but if you're not interested in it, you're kind of just like, oh, maybe, might be cool. Like, your enthusiasm will wane, and you'll just drop off. And yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Does anyone else have a question before we wrap up?
How do you work out the relationship, partnership? And I noticed there was a third person there.
Matt.
So
yeah.
How do you?
So when we were in the accelerator program, our wonderful mentor and entrepreneur in resident, James, took me through Slicing the Pie, and is a book about how you split company value. And then James had a spreadsheet, and he had like some funny name of like idiot proof share allocation, like, anyway, totally jamesbradley.com, but it was so helpful in breaking down that concept into a spreadsheet to say, well, what's the value today with the concept, with no customers? What's the future value? Who's going to be putting the most work into it to grow it and to build the company value? And we did it that way. So we did it on 100% effort. So it was like, this person's probably going to be 10% here. Like, you know, maybe John and Matt did more on the idea phase, but then like converting it into an actual business, the pathway there. So it made this like awkward conversation about who gets what and how do we split it, and not wanting to just do the quintessential, we'll just go blah, 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 even, Stephen. It made it really easy, and or easier to have those crunchy conversations. But if anyone wants, I'm happy to share that too, because it was brilliant, and that book's really good too, how it explains how it breaks it down.
We got the same email that actually said, I previously sent this to Avril. And we did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. It's really like, because money conversations aren't fun, they're awful, and especially when they're with people that you know and love, like it's really hard. So it made it really, really palatable.
Well, thank you so much. We do have a class that starts at 9, so we just have to head out now. But as I mentioned before, if anyone has any questions they want to ask Avril, feel free to ask her here in the foyer area, or head down to the coffee shop and finish off any conversations there. If you have any questions about IT Web, I'll also give you a little bit, so feel free to come and speak to me. But otherwise, can you please thank Avril so much?